Metamorpho, The Element Man,
Mhm.
issue 2, Al Ewing writing with Steve Lieber on the art. What did you think, Matt?
Yeah, so this book's doing this thing where there's a overall story of Cyclops trying to mess with Stag and Metamorpho as a whole, and we don't know why. And each issue, it seems like it's going to introduce a new villain that's part of Cyclops. And here, it's the Mad Mod, who is like, you know about the mods and the rockers in history, that whole subset, kind of, you know, swinging 60s Austin Powery type people. They were the mods. Um,
Uh,
that's this guy's entire gimmick, is that he has this thick accent and he talks about the past. But he has like this radio show where they bring up old music. Well, it's a podcast. It's called the Mad Pod. And that Sapphire is I guess a pop star. Didn't know this about her. And that she's getting constantly her spotlight taken from this new up and coming singer named Sugar Sweet, who is kind of getting into nostalgia, that singing like these songs about being a housewife and how much better it is. And it's upstaging all of Sapphire's, new modern kind of pop stuff of being a strong woman that stands on her own. And Sapphire's getting upset. Her dad's like, well, I'll figure out a way. I'll get you the best writers to figure this out. And Metamorpho can't take any of this seriously because to him it's just music. So he just starts taking forms of, different things. At one point, he ends up making himself into the complex molecules that turns himself into a glow stick. So just his interior, from his chest down to his waistline is like this glow stick, piece. And while he's distracted by, turning himself into these complex molecules, Element Girl is basically telling Sapphire, like, you guys don't have a lot in common. You're this rich girl, you're this pop star. He's an adventurer who also can turn into chemicals. Like, you guys don't make sense. And, Sapphire starts to almost take the bait where, maybe she's right. Maybe, I can't be a pop star anymore. Maybe he just needs to go off and be with her. Java's not having any of this. He wants to go end Sugar Sweet because it's causing Sapphire a lot of distress. And Stag ends up saying, hey, let me show you a secret, Java. You're worrying about this too much. And behind a painting of himself, they get into what turns out to be the Mad Mod studio. And Sugar Sweet is laying on a table in pieces. And come to find out that Sugar Sweet is an android that is created by Stag in order to play both sides, right? So he's
playing both sides, so he always comes out on top.
Exactly. And that he wants to give Sapphire a recording career, and so she can be this cool pop star, but also, he's, what does he say? The Mad Mod knows technology and fashion and all this other stuff, so he can also control culture. And so while Sapphire might be the person of today, through the shoes of nostalgia, Sugar Sweet can be the woman of yesterday. And so this ends up becoming part of Mad Mod's, part of his entire scheme to fleece Stag and to turn this technology over to Cyclops, in that he's designed Sugar Sweet to be this indestructible android called the Woman of Tomorrow, who comes out to annihilate Sapphire in Metamorpho. So there's this big fight, and Element Girl and Metamorpho end up teaming up. He ends up becoming this complex molecule in order to get through the indestructible metal. And this makes Sapphire realize that Metamorpho means more than anything to her, and that she's just going to, if that's what she needs to be, just Metamorpho's girlfriend, she'll do that, but she's going to be her own woman. the Mad Mod gets revealed to be working with Cyclops, and he ends up going to jail. But from the jail, he calls his contact, who ends up being Vandal Savage. And at this point, so this book's apparently in continuity, he is the commissioner of Gotham City PD. And he wants to call in some favors that they're both working for Cyclops. And that he's like, well, I'll get you out, but you got to go hide. Go to Santa Prisca. There's a Cyclops thing there, a cell there. And, this, I guess, gives me reason to look into my old friend. He pulls out a file, and it's Java. So clearly Java and Vandal Savage have some history, both being, from Neanderthals. And, so it's kind of a fun book. It's a bit unfocused at times. I feel like it's pulling from that Silver Agey kind of style of these kind of one-offs. It feels very much like when you're talking about Batman and the Outsiders, to where these kind of one-off stories that play into a greater story. And I know that's not really Silver Age, but that feels the era that Ewing's pulling from. Lieber's art's kind of perfect for that because everything feels kind of classic. The Metamorpho gags, he does really well. Lieber succeeds at kind of doing cartoony styles, and Metamorpho is perfect for that. So when he becomes the glow stick, or when he's fighting the woman of yesterday, that's she's been implanted with the best stag technology. He ends up transforming into these chemicals. What is it? Glucose and carbon residue that ends up getting in through the metal and whatnot. It works out really well. But as a whole, the book's just kind of okay. Like if this was on a much busier week, I probably wouldn't have made it through it. But as long as it keeps coming on a slow week, I'll keep reading. So I'll give this a straight 7.